Welcome to the Grow Your Practice podcast. Hi, I'm your host, Chad Madden, owner of Madden Physical Therapy and Breakthrough. Join me each week as we dive into the best practices, systems, principles, tips, and tricks to help you grow your private practice.
What's your strategy for boosting your profit margins? In the current industry landscape, margins are slim due to declining reimbursements and the rising cost of doing business. Breakthrough has just released a new course, Profitability Under Pressure. This 13-week masterclass focuses on 5 key areas in your practice that can help you increase your profits. We'll guide you through creating a financial plan, which is a step overlooked by many other practices. You'll also learn how to renegotiate insurance contracts, evaluate whether cutting ties with lower payers is beneficial, and how to add cash pay services to improve your lifetime patient value. By the end of this course, you'll have improved control over your profit margins and a clear roadmap for future growth. This program is exclusively for private practice owners. You must apply to be accepted. No hops or pops practices. Click the link below to get started.
Super excited to share with you the 3 best lessons that I've had that I've had from my 3 mentors. So again, over the course of the last 15 years, I've again cheated to some degree. I don't try to reinvent the wheel. I try to go out and I believe it's called life hacking, but I try to learn from others so I don't have to extend out my learning curve with 100% experience, that I can learn from the wisdom of others. And I found 3 very good mentors. And here at the end, if we have some time, I'll share with you how I found them. But the first one is, we'll call him the back mountain roofer in the plaid shirt. And his name is Gary. He's actually the father of my best friend growing up. His big lesson was respect money. And I said, well, what do you mean by that? And he said, well, don't waste it. And he said, he sees a lot of people who just, whatever their income is, they're spending all of their income plus more trying to keep up with what other people are doing. And he said, it's a big error, and it's a lot of people do it, and we hear about it and we think that we can get by it with common sense, but it's very easy to fall into. And like I shared with you previously, when Steph and I lived in the development, we saw that hey, if we went out and we got a certain vehicle, or somebody else got a certain vehicle, that there was jealousy, envy, like those mis-emotions that we didn't really want to deal with. And then we didn't want our children to fall into that as well, where it's like, hey, you got A, I need to get A plus, and one up our neighbor. So that was the first part of his lesson, what he meant with respect money. And the other thing that I think he does amazingly well is share with those less fortunate. So he's almost like a champion for the underdog. And, the other thing that I like about Robert Kiyosaki's lessons for the 5 financial IQs is that he considers, tithing, charity, goodwill, asset building. And I really think it is. And I don't think it's, there's the superficial thing of what most people think, which is the reason that we're asset building through donations is so that we can, we make these amazing connections and we get more business. Well, I don't think the universe really works like that if that is the intention. And I think the universe, or the invisible hand, if you're reading Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations or whatever it is, there's like it's almost like a mystical force that usually those of us that are scientists, like I am in the Western Hemisphere, don't really want to acknowledge. But there is something with, like, when we flow money to those less fortunate, believe it or not, there is, like, the universe gives us other responsibilities. And it's if you're religious or spiritual, it's basically how can I be used to do more good in the world. And it's not a bad thing. It's a great thing to be a part of. And then the other thing that he said was, grow your net worth. So going back to that, where uh, poor and middle class people who maybe even have high incomes but never build true long term wealth, they focus on spending. So they focus on buying things with expenses that are literally liabilities, and usually it's to keep up with the Joneses. So it's belonging to the best country club and the fees that are associated with that. It's buying the $110,000 Mercedes, and keeping up with the image that they're trying to portray, rather than investing in those that are less fortunate. Or number one priority of people with wealth is growing their net worth and buying assets. So this is my second mentor. This is a picture of it was the two of us, but I cropped myself out, and we were at Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals, and we were 20 rows from the court. We sat behind Lenny Kravitz, and it was when Ray Allen hit the three, which he did right in front of us, hit the three from the corner, from the Chris Bosh rebound that sent the game into overtime. They went on in Game 7 and beat the San Antonio Spurs. Again, that's back in 2013. So this is a picture of us. Ernie is 82, 83 years old, and has had an amazingly successful career in life insurance. And also he's a broker for financial securities. So a really, really smart guy. And a phenomenal people person. So we get together for lunch once a month. We've been doing so since 2000, 2001. And he just drops knowledge and life bombs on me constantly. And I love it. I eat it up. So I asked him the same question. And what's like one lesson that you would want to pass along? Oddly enough, he said, respect money. I was like, okay, so what do you mean by that? And he said, for me, and he said, from my perspective, I've seen a lot of people with the ability to earn an income, and they think that's always going to be there. They take it for granted. And he said, they never really prepare for the day when they can no longer produce. So maybe right now they're working 50 to 60 hours a week, but they think they're going to be able to do that for 30 years or 40 years, and that never happens. Now, this is coming from a guy who's in his 80s and is still working. So, pretty profound statement, but he doesn't work today like he did 40 years ago. So 40 years ago, he was able to work 60, 70 hours a week. Now he works 20, 30, 40 hours a week. It seems to me like he's always working, but, that capacity isn't there. And I think it's really, really intelligent wisdom. And he said, specifically like lotto winners and pro athletes. And by the way, he used to work with a ton of the Baltimore Colts, which then became the Indianapolis Colts. And now he's a huge Baltimore Ravens fan since they've been here, I think for the last 20 years or so. But has dealt with a lot of pro athletes. And he said, the problem is most never learn how to solve financial problems. People get this windfall, including high income earners, including physical therapists, including physicians, including high income earners in healthcare, and they never learn how to solve financial problems. The only thing they've ever solved is go to school, get a good education, get a degree, get a license, and earn high income. They never really solve financial problems. They think they're going to be able to be an anesthesiologist for 50 years, and it doesn't work that way. And he said, most people never prepare for the day that they can't really do anything. That's the importance of taking that money that you earn over on the left side of the cash flow quadrant, which is employee and self-employed income, converting it over to the business owner and investor side, where you have money working for you or you have a business working for you. And he said, most lotto winners and pro athletes, high income earners, never learn how to do that. So really cool lesson from a guy that's been around the block and has seen a lot of the world. So pretty cool lesson there. And the third one is, so this is for the last 12 years. I've had my third mentor has 4 Ivy League degrees from 3 Ivy League schools. They would be Penn, Wharton, which is the business school at Penn, and then Harvard. So probably the smartest person I've ever had the opportunity to have a conversation with one-on-one. And we get together maybe once or twice a year for lunch or dinner. And it's usually a pretty long conversation, maybe like 2.5, 3 hours. Um, but the the one thing that he's really focused a lot of impressing upon me is the power of exponential growth. And roughly that the graph on the right represents exponential growth, and the formula for that is y equals x to the nth, where the y-axis is money, and the x-axis is time. And basically, what happens, like this is the story of the librarian who's never earned more than $20,000 a year, but yet retires with $1 million. And it's if you invest early and often in asset building, over time, you get to the point where way out on the x-axis, way out in time, 20, 30, 40 years in, your asset money is earning so much cash flow that you can't possibly spend it. That's what's happened here, where I'm at with the Hershey Trust Fund. So that's Milton Hershey. When he passed away, he gave his entire estate to the Hershey Trust. And basically, they're earning the last I saw it, the fund was well over $1 billion, and the fund is literally earning millions and millions of dollars every year. I think it's $50 to $100 million a year, and they can't possibly spend that interest fast enough in the original vision that Milton Hershey had. Really, really cool problem to have. But what happens typically is that if we're very early on the curve, so the left-hand side of the graph, so year 0 or year 1, we see people way out 20, 30, 40, 50 years into their y equals x to the nth curve, their income producing asset producing curve, and we say, wow, like that person just grew their income, or they just earned $20 million in this past year. I want that. So again, that's that error where we see people that are way out there, and we see them as an overnight success, and we don't see the 20 or 25, 30 years of struggle and hard work that person has been through. And then what we try to do is replicate what we see them doing. And usually that's buying a nice car, buying a vacation house. And we think that those types of actions are what is going to cause us success. And that is a huge fallacy. It's a huge error, and it gets a lot of people in financial trouble. And he said, the greater thing. So, and this specific conversation that we were having one night, where we literally spent, I think it was 2 hours and 45 minutes we spent on this idea, is that of growing a commercial real estate portfolio. And he came from the experience of going from 0 to $180 million commercial real estate portfolio in 22 years, which is amazingly impressive. And what he helped me do with his guidance was go from a 0 to a $6 million portfolio in 12 years. So really, really cool. And the idea behind it is that that you see it through, that you see the growth, and that you continue on the pathway, you persevere on the pathway, and you don't get distracted by what people behind you are doing on the x-axis, or what people far in front of you on the x-axis that are way out there that are earning $20 million a year more this year than they earned last year. That you give yourself time to get there, and you just persevere through your course. So another really, really cool lesson. So you can't possibly make this graph happen if you're earning all of your income as an employee. The only way that you can make y equals to the x, or y equals x to the nth happen, is if you're taking money first from your income, whether it's employment, self-employed, business owner, investor income, and that you're going back and you're buying assets. Because, if in year 1 I buy 4,000 square feet, and in year 2 I buy another 4,000 square feet, well, now I'm earning double the income, hypothetically. The next year I can take that income and go out and buy 2 more office buildings. So now I have 4, and I almost create like a Fibonacci sequence of investment growth, and it's exponential growth. You probably have, if you're on this curve and you're 10 years, 20 years, 30 years in, and you've done well, and you've constantly done asset reinvestment and have bought cash flowing assets, if you've done that, you can get to the point where there's a good enough is good enough. And, for me, I have a certain figure. Steph and I have a certain figure uh, that, we know what we need to provide for our family. We know what we want to do in the community with regards to tithing or goodwill or donations. And we have that number. And then, the game long term is just to get to the point where I can replace both of our salaries as a PT and teacher, which we've done, and that I don't need to be in the clinic, that I can be in the clinic because I want to. So, we were able to do that in a relatively short period of time because we understood the power of exponential growth. We constantly first flowed money before we did anything else. Before we did expenses, we would flow money back into that asset building. So that concludes the lessons of the three masters, or my three mentors. And I did share with you how I met them and what I do. So when you find somebody who's way far out on the X equals Y to the nth curve, and they've had a very successful career, there's a certain level of respect and manners that you can put forth that are immediately going to strengthen your relationship. First of all, rule number one is that people that are successful almost always like to flow back to other people. So, I have one of these mentors isn't really, I'll say, people prone, but the amount of respect and good manners that I've showed him. And what do I mean by that? I mean, like when we have a conversation and he focuses a long time on something, I go back immediately to my house or my office and I write down everything that I understood him to say. So it shows that I'm duplicating. Even in that type of situation, what that does is immediately shows that other person, that potential mentor, that you're serious about learning and that you're not trying to reinvent the wheel. One of the most disparaging things or disrespectful things that you can do is if somebody's giving you advice, you don't necessarily have to do it. But if you blatantly, so this is a person that is way out on the X equals or Y equals X to the nth. And if you're early on, and if you're going to tell them how to do it, that relationship's over. That you might as well just forget it. And by the way, this happened. So I had a friend, and we'll keep this as anonymous as possible, who I set up a meeting with one of my mentors. The mentor gave him amazing advice. And by the way, he didn't actually deliver. He didn't tell him what the advice was. He had my friend walk through step by step by step, little cognition by little cognition, laying into him, questioning every step of the way. And at the end, my friend said, "This is what I think the best decision is." Also in agreement with exactly what my mentor said. Now, what happened next is why they will never meet again and probably never talk again. The guy said, "Yeah, but here's what I'm going to do anyhow." So it was basically a ton of work on my mentor's part over the course of an hour, hour and a half of walking this person through step by step by step, little cognition by little cognition, bringing them to a certain level. And basically my friend said, "Hey, by the way, I have this emotional baggage where I can't really make the right decision or the logical decision. So I'm going to make this emotional decision and I'm really going to mess this up." And, it was instantly that was done. That relation, they'll never talk again. They'll never meet again. My friend has this idea that he's going to go out and, be very successful, and that somehow my mentor wants to get back together with him and hear how wrong he is. Forget it. Like that. So if you have the ability to meet with somebody, the best thing you can do is be an amazing listener. Ask really, really intelligent questions. Take everything they do and show that you can duplicate that and that you're going to act on it in a positive way, and you'll have some lifelong mentorship relationships there. So yeah, I mean, I always take notes. I ask if I can write things down. I ask if I can share stories, stuff like that. But that's a crash course in how to find and keep really good mentors. And also, again, hope you enjoyed the three lessons from my mentors. Again, I just asked them the question, what's the best lesson that you would want to pass along with regard to finances and money? And this is what they had to say about that. So again, hope you enjoyed this.
What's your strategy for boosting your profit margins? In the current industry landscape, margins are slim due to declining reimbursements and the rising cost of doing business. Breakthrough has just released a new course, Profitability Under Pressure. This 13-week masterclass focuses on 5 key areas in your practice that can help you increase your profits. We'll guide you through creating a financial plan, which is a step overlooked by many other practices. You'll also learn how to renegotiate insurance contracts, evaluate whether cutting ties with lower payers is beneficial, and how to add cash pay services to improve your lifetime patient value. By the end of this course, you'll have improved control over your profit margins and a clear roadmap for future growth. This program is exclusively for private practice owners. You must apply to be accepted. No hops or pops practices. Click the link below to get started.